So, are you ready to dive into a world of captivating conversations and insightful perspectives with Leap Listens? I'm Sara, and I'm joined by my co-host Roger.
Hello.
And together, we'll be your guides through our third podcast series. Leap Listens is proudly presented by Leap Create, a dynamic people communications agency that partners with organisations to communicate their unique culture and values. Check us out at leapcreate.co.uk. So join us as we explore the latest trends, share success stories, and uncover the secrets of effective communications in the workplace in just 15 minutes or maybe a little bit more.
Today we're joined by Kim Adcock and Nathan Adcock from One Player Mission. Kim founded OPM in 1998 to bridge the gap between gaming companies that are looking for staff and talented games workers looking for their next job opportunity. Nathan is the marketing manager and Kim's son, and today we'll be talking about the business of recruitment. What's changed, what's current, and what does the future hold? Welcome to the podcast, Kim and Nathan.
Hello.
Hello.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much. So, Kim, if you start with you, just tell us about your journey at OPM.
Okay, well, it started in 1992 when I joined a recruitment company that ended up going into games because the owner had previously worked in games and in recruitment. And I was there on and off for 7 years between having children. And I went back. I then went into distribution in video games for a couple of years as a senior product manager. I then went back to that recruitment company for a short period where they basically let me help them build their business back up and then fired me. So One Player Mission started because I was sacked. So luckily, I have a very supportive family. I ended up homeless. I was divorced without settlement at the same time, which they knew. So at that point, I was homeless. I was jobless. My boys were 4, 9 and 11. And I had a dog and houseplants and goldfish and nowhere to go. So fortunately, my parents took us in for a couple of months. My father guaranteed a mortgage. I ended up working a few weeks as a PA for a friend of mine because what happened when I told only 6 people in the industry that they wouldn't hear from me anymore. And they were key contacts. And people started to say, you've got to start on your own. Never entered my head before. Clearly not the most brilliant time in my life for that to happen. And by the end of 3 weeks, I had 5 offers of finance from in the industry. My friend who was sales manager at Warner Games at that time had suggested her father use his pension. So at the point when I was really low, the industry told me that actually I was okay and actually I was probably pretty good. And a couple of people had thought I was a partner in the other business. So that was it. Off I went on a mission to a one player mission. See what I did there?
Not at that point.
And yeah, and at one point I was going to use an investor, wasted 8 weeks negotiating a contract, but during which time I learnt a lot. And in the end, he called himself my boss a couple of times. And I thought, if this is my business, you can't be my boss. So I had to tell him that it wasn't going to work out. He very kindly gifted me the company which he had paid to incorporate. And OPM Response Limited was born on the 18th of March. Ironically, the same day of my decree absolute. Sorry, Nathan.
Wow.
It's okay, I'm over it.
I didn't know. I must admit, not that I'd ever asked, but I didn't know the full story behind that. So that's quite an inspirational story. That, Kim, to know the origin story of Kim is quite.
Yeah, it was fun times. You don't know how tough you are until you have to be, and it tends to only be when you look back that you say, "Good Lord, was that me? Did I do that?" And here we still are. So, and then eventually the boys, joined. Both of them supposed to be temporarily. And 12, how many years now, Nate? 13 years for you now? 12 years for you?
Something, yeah, 13 or 14 this time. Yeah.
I remember Nathan, I think, was coming to work on a BMX when I first met you. So,
yeah. About right.
In that time, obviously you must have seen some significant changes in recruitment since you've been running the business. What talk us through some of the big changes that you've noticed.
Well, for me, process is the biggest thing that's changed. Headhunters were frowned upon back then, and now we're all headhunters. That's all you can do. You still get some applications, but back then I had one folder full of paper files of clients and jobs. I had another folder of candidates, and I had a call box with calling cards in for all my client calls. And everything was done manually, and everything arrived in the post or by fax if they were really posh. And we'd meet people face to face still. CVs would go out in the morning and you'd chase them up in the afternoon, and people used to answer the phone. So it was all phone work back then. There was no other way to communicate, and it was super simple. These days, the team have, somewhere in the region of about 20 portals they have to use. Everyone wants a different process. They have to use LinkedIn. They have to use forums. They have to use our database still, which is still, we had our first one made in 1992. All duplication of effort should be automated is my mantra. And now I can't tell you how many different bits of tech we've had to invest in, and therefore how many different bits they have to learn, and they have to be able to approach people cold. So it is an incredibly challenging job now. And I honestly don't know if I could do it now. Thankfully, I have people for that.
You don't have to, yeah. And what about you, Nathan? So obviously you've been there, did you say 12 years now?
I think it's 13 or 14. It was,
I think it's more than that. Yeah.
That's this time, I guess. The first time I kind of came in as an admin, but the second time came in as a recruitment consultant. I couldn't do it in the first place, just to be clear. That was not for me. Yeah. So, I came in as marketing in 2011. I know that. I've done the marketing since 2011, but I had worked at OPM a couple of times since then. The biggest changes for me are to do with candidate attraction. It kind of feeds into a little bit what Kim /Mum said. When I first started doing marketing, there were kind of two types of candidate attraction that we could rely on. And one was print advertising. We'd just literally stick jobs in a magazine, or just say, hey, apply for a job with us. And we get loads of applications. It's just, I just literally can't remember the last time a print advert had someone apply for a job from it. That's, it's good for brand awareness, in my opinion, but actually to get applications, that's not where people are going to look for jobs. And the other thing was job boards, which when I joined, before print advertising was the biggest source, I kind of tracked it all. Then job boards became the biggest source by a long way. It was actually quite easy, I hate to say it, to find candidates back then, because all you had to do was put your jobs in the job board and they'd all come to you, in their droves. But now neither work anywhere near as well as they used to. Job boards, there's still a place for them. In the niche market that is games, there's only one, maybe two that work, but still it's nowhere near the levels of applications that we used to get. So now it's all about getting people to the website using social media, and also the consultants have a lot more to do, as Kim said, with actually going to find candidates themselves. And as a marketer, it's about kind of supporting them and their brand, and making sure when they message someone on LinkedIn, if they go and look at our company or our company page, they're much more likely to come back to you. That's like such a big part of the job now, whereas that was kind of non-existent when I started that kind of thing. It was the brand of the company. Now it's the brand of the people, if that makes sense.
Our structure's completely changed. You didn't need a marketing person back in the day. You just didn't. You paid Pronto Print. Pronto Print designed our first logo and did our first business card. Cost me all of 50 quid.
I'll be honest with you, it did look like it.
Yeah. Things improved once we met you guys properly, which was very helpful. The structure's completely changed. So, we now have an internal bookkeeper that's, I think, was still only part-time actually. But we have the foundation team is a lot bigger. And we also have a team of resources to do exactly what Nathan's just described. Keep our data up to date, keep in touch with people, and get onto LinkedIn and go find them all over the world. So I think we've placed in 38 countries now as well. And I remember our first database had counties in it for the UK. So we can't even put locations into the database now. It's too random.
Okay. So Kim, going to you first. What current trends are you noticing with candidates and employees?
Well, we saw the year of the Great Resignation last year, and definitely part of the year before. And there was no price that people wouldn't go to secure talent. The world was at home playing games, and everybody wanted investment. I think we ended up with 7.6 billion available in investment compared to about, 780 million the year before. So don't quote me on those figures, they could be wrong, but I know it was that much of a difference. So there was a huge amount of money floating about. Everybody was starting new games. Everybody was fighting for talent. We were trying to fill the ocean from a pond, the skills, because obviously that happens in a growing industry. So everybody went in on what I said at the time were unsustainable salaries. And now we're seeing the enormous redundancies in tech. You know, that Meta announced a £3.99 billion loss for their last quarter. So there's been, I mean, even for him, that must sting. Which was good, because we lost 2 people to Meta who had headhunted on salaries that made my eyes water. I had to pat them both on the back and just say, bloody well done. But one of them's come back. So, because they all got made redundant, their whole recruitment team's gone. So it has left us, you know, we're sort of at the top of the roller coaster, and now we've dropped down. So vacancies are lower, but equally people on very high salaries are in a slightly more precarious position because the investment isn't there as much. I was hearing at Gamescom last August that investors were already, because I think of the crypto crash, people who are in games tend to be in crypto as well. And so they were either asking for the money back or not giving you the next round. And if you couldn't find the staff, you couldn't complete your milestones and you wouldn't get your next round of investment. So we have seen some very surprising companies not coping with games that we thought were amazing, and also a lot of acquisition. So that's the other thing that's happened. So there's more spider and fly happening. Clearly not with Microsoft and Activision, but that's for another day. But yeah, there was a danger in the industry that we were going to end up with just a few giant publishers who owned everything. But now, you know, there are some smaller ones, a lot more smaller ones out there. But that's the biggest change I've seen in the last couple of years, is it was all gung-ho, and now everyone's just kind of taken a breath.
Okay. And then Nathan, the same question to you. So just to repeat that, what current trends are you noticing with candidates and employers?
Yeah, to reiterate what Kim said, there was a boom, and it's back down, and I think it's kind of the same across tech and a lot of industries, where it's back down to pre-COVID levels, basically. That seems to be what's happened. The biggest takeaway in recruitment was definitely remote working, and just how quickly everyone had to adapt and successfully adapted to remote working. And there's kind of an interesting thing happening now where companies don't want remote as much as they used to. Some companies do, some do, but candidates kind of do want remote working because we've all lived that now. So yeah, the demand for remote jobs among job seekers exceeds the number of remote job opportunities available in the market. Definitely, that is definitely what's happening right now.
What have you guys settled on there at One Player Mission? What's your policy now?
We're fully remote, actually. Yeah, fully remote. So we meet up 4 times a year for around 2 or 3 days, and yeah, we're fully remote, which surprises me still that we've done that. But yeah,
but we didn't really have any choice. We had a huge office, nobody was in it for 2 years, it was costing a fortune, so we let that go and we took a smaller space, and nobody used that either. So then they put the rent up by 40%, didn't even hang around to see what they were going to do with the service charge, so we let that go too. But I have to say, I hate it. I get lonely. And I think that's definitely something from a mental health perspective that's very difficult for people, particularly people. Recruiters are people. And for them to sit isolated every day is not who they naturally would be. Yeah, I've been in 4 different rooms I've used for my home office. And I moved again this morning. So just so I could get a better view of the garden now the weather's better. But it is difficult. You just don't feel settled, and I love our days away. It completely changes how everybody communicates together. It's absolutely lovely. So, the quarterly canters, as we call them, will continue. But I think that is a big issue. There's definitely pros to remote working, but there's also been cons as far as productivity goes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's for us as well. It depends, doesn't it, on the individual, because not everyone is actually set up to work at home, and as you say, some people are people, and I think if you want to build any kind of culture, particularly if you're in a creative industry, then you know there is benefits from kind of being around people. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, Charlie and we're planning our 3 days with the team now, and it's like 2 months away, because we know we need creatively, you work way better as a team, way better, and having those people there, it's hard to get buy-in as well sometimes on creative projects with people that are already doing another job. When you're in the office, kind of people are kind of attracted to other jobs, they kind of get distracted, so they're like, I want to help, I want to do this and that. It's hard to get buy-in from home because it's like, no, I've got a job to do. Which is a really interesting byproduct for all.
I think there's 1 or 2 who are definitely more productive at home. Certainly on the management team, I think they enjoyed their team members having to learn how to do it themselves. So rather teach them to fish than give them the fish because we're sitting next to them. So that was quite a positive change. But that was positive, because people did have to be more independent. However, when new people are starting now, they don't hear the tips and tricks that the experienced people are using on the phone and how they communicate. And, it's a very, very unique industry. You can't communicate with people in this industry the same way you would anywhere else. It's very unique. So it's difficult for them to learn that and to kind of get the culture of the business. So, we used to shout out all the time in the office. If you heard something about a certain business or, a certain HR person had told you something really interesting about what was going on out there, we'd just shout out in the office. You can't do that anymore. And we kind of used, our team chat, but it's not the same. And people worry about bothering other people during the day.
I totally agree. It's like what I call like learning by osmosis, which I think, and also especially if you're a leader, then sometimes you hear things, don't you, from the kind of cocktail effect from the other side of the office, and you think, hang on a minute, before you do that, or I know something about that.
I'll just come sit next to you now. Help you through this, because it sounds like hell. Yes.
Great. Okay, so another question. In your industry, what are the most sought after skills currently?
All of them. All of them.
Programmers always have been and always will be the kind of most sought after skill. There's, I guess, a constant shortage of programmers because there's so many needed to make a game. I guess the upcoming, Unity, actually thinking about it, Unity is like an engine for making video games, and it's cross-platform, and so many studios, small and big, use it. So that's always sought after. I don't know if you've seen clips of what developers are making with Unreal Engine 5, but it's very lifelike. Footage is too lifelike. Some would definitely argue on the kind of shooter side of things, but that's an engine people are working on now. We're going to start seeing games have dramatically better graphics come out soon on this new engine, Unreal Engine 5. So that one's sought after, but it's one of those where not, because it's new, not many people actually have used it. So most people are kind of looking for a job where they can use it rather than.
We'll probably still be after for people with 2 years experience.
We'll have to. It's only been out for a year and they last for 2 years experience.
I think technical art, definitely, when I look at the interviews, if you get a really good technical artist, particularly one who can relocate, we can send them out to about 15 companies and they will get snapped up. And design is a tricky one because games are so broad now and they have to have worked on exactly the niche that the client is going to be working on. So they tend to have to go to a lot of interviews before the right thing clicks and they know they've got the style and the background and the methods. So I know design is definitely tricky. So lots of vacancies, but everyone has to be in that exact pigeonhole. And that's been a big change, I think, over the years where, an artist used to do everything from start to finish to animation. And now they'll do like 1/16 of that, and that's a job on its own. And certainly the same with the other departments. On the commercial side, marketing, commercial, product managers, community managers, absolutely huge. And that side of things, because so much is online now. I can't remember the last time we had I think we might have had a business development manager role a few weeks ago, but you don't tend to hear about sales jobs. It's all about marketing and influencer management. A lot of roles for that. So that side of things is completely different to somebody going out to all the supermarkets and trying to sell boxes. They still do, but it tends to be done direct from distribution and from the publishers themselves.
Yeah, that's absolutely fascinating. I mean, that must have been a big change, the influencer side of things. We do quite a lot of work in the tech space, so we are kind of aware of some of those skills, and people are always after those agile skills and DevOps and programmers, as you said. But do people in games tend to stay in games, or do people come from other industries into it?
Oh, we'd love them to be able to come from other industries. Our industry always wants people. I mean, obviously, we're an agency. They have to pay us a fee. So we only get the unicorn jobs. The unicorns are double-spotted unicorns, are triple-horned unicorns. So that's what they want us to go and find. So for people trying to get in, they've got to really, really illustrate their transferable skills and just not apply for stuff they just can't do. that don't burn any bridges is what I'd say. So, and there are more people now going and either getting trained or making sure they get some sort of experience doing what they actually want to do, and they can't assume. We used to get TV producers wanting to be games producers, and the process is chalk and cheese. It couldn't be more different. And it was very difficult to explain to people with like 20 years experience that they couldn't make a game. It wasn't just management skills. You had to have a background in the tech side or the art side and understand how it all works. So that's kind of changing. Project management now, I think, is more, it's a transferable skill. But there's a lot of good degrees out there now as well, but still more students than there will ever be jobs.
Right. That's interesting. Well, look, Kim, it's been fascinating and lovely to see you and Nathan again. And one of the things that we always do is ask our guests what books or audio books they're currently listening to and anything they could recommend for our other listeners.
I'm actually reading Stephen Hawking's book. And I can't remember what it's called because it's still in my suitcase.
I did say it didn't have to be highbrow. And you go straight in there.
I went straight in there with Stephen Hawking. I don't understand most of it. Still not quite sure about the whole black hole thing, but it was fascinating just to see the process that he's taken. And, obviously, if you know a lot about physics, then it would probably help reading that book. But I still found it turned parts of my brain on that wouldn't be used otherwise. So, but I love a bit of Audible, she says, quickly looking at her app so she can remember what the happiness book that I'm listening to at the moment is.
You're talking to two big Audible fans here. So.
Yeah. Hold on, I've got to go and look back and see what I was watching.
While you do that, over to you, Nathan.
Yeah.
I like historical fiction. So I'm reading at the moment The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. I think it's been made into a Netflix series. So the good thing about historical fiction is once you've read it, there's usually a series out there you can go and watch afterwards.
I'll just watch the film then.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm reading at the moment.
Yeah, I can't find it because I actually dipped into Spare.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I had a really weird dream last night. I went to Kate and Will's wedding, and it was quite a small affair in like a local village church. And I was at the back, and afterwards I went up and congratulated him, said, well done. And he said, thank you very much, Roger. And I said, how do you know my name? And he just said, I know.
Perhaps he listened to
Yeah. Yeah, what does that mean? What does it mean?
I'm really disappointed you didn't get an invitation for Saturday.
And then the worst thing was,
that could mean anything.
Afterwards, I went to the pub, and there was like a long trestle table, and I was like, "Have I got some stories for you?" And they all, they just disappeared from my head, and like everyone just started wandering off, and it was like,
like real life.
You're like real life. And the worst thing was this morning, right? I woke up and I was telling Stacey, I said, I had this dream. And what happened was everyone I started to tell an anecdote. Everyone wandered off. Honestly, I swear not. It was like, she just went back to sleep. Yeah.
It's a story of your life. History repeating itself.
It is, yeah.
Hilarious. Anyway, thank you so much, Nathan and Kim. It's been
that
really nice speaking
something.
to you. I love your honesty, Kim.
Yeah, apparently I overshare. Who knew? But, in recruitment, that's actually a bit of a benefit. They know they're always going to get the truth because I can't keep it in.
Excellent.
I am a marketer's nightmare.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Lovely.
Bye, Sarah.
Right,
bye,
you.
Roger. Take care.
Thanks. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening. For more expert insights, check out our other bite-sized episodes, perfect for micro learners and those with a short attention span, just like me. And if you're in employer branding and recruitment marketing, you might be interested in our monthly EB meetups. Just search EB Meetup on LinkedIn and join our community. For anything else, contact us via leapcreate.co.uk. See you next time.